Hello everyone and welcome to this Druid Feral group therapy session. We're going to talk about the state of Feral on TWoW. This will be like a manifesto, okay? This will be like everything. I think there'll be a lot of like Feral players who are going to resonate with this and like the problems on the server. And I'm here with Thrax. So Thrax, why don't you start by telling us a bit about your like experience with Feral, what you've done with the spec and stuff like that.
So I dabbled in Feral in original vanilla, and then played it in original TBC and Wrath, and then didn't touch it again until Classic came out. Then did Feral on Classic WoW, and just in vanilla, didn't play TBC Classic, and then came to Turtle and saw that it was meant to be a vanilla plus server. So in preparation for class changes too, I started playing a Feral, and then I discovered it was no longer Classic plus content for Feral specifically, so I stopped playing that. And in between that, did a whole lot of tri-spec PvP, which technically doesn't count as Feral, but one of Druid's greatest strengths was that flexibility that you could do.
Yeah, flag carrying and stuff.
Yeah. So it involved a lot of Feral moments, but I don't know if you could quantify that as quote unquote playing Feral. But in raids, I would play Feral. And then on TWoW, I have recently been playing Resto on my Druid after putting down Feral for a bit.
Yeah. Okay. I'll talk about a bit about my experience. So I main Shaman on this, like this is my forever main on this server, but like on the Thraxeus relaunch, Feral was like my first vanilla main. I really enjoyed the leveling experience. I think it's fantastic, and had a lot of fun, and had a lot of fun like taking 5-man dungeons and farming pre-bis. I went fully hard on it. I ranked rank 13 on it. I did pre-mades, flag carrying, that sort of stuff. And I mostly tanked in raid because unfortunately I was playing on like 300 ping. Power shift rotation was just too much. Like it was just kind of unplayable. It was very inconsistent. So I didn't like doing cat very much, but I went hard as fuck. I had like PvP gear. I had like MCP bag slot issues. So I'm very experienced with the vanilla Feral experience, and comparing and contrasting it to the TWoW. I mean, there's definitely been some positive changes, but there's a lot of like legacy problems that were just completely ignored, and it's kind of bizarre, right, to me. And
Absolutely.
It really like I'm just like looking at it as like my old main, like what the fuck is going on with this spec? This spec is a disaster area.
But at least you don't have to do Noma runs at the start and end of every day anymore, right?
At least I don't have to do 5 lockouts back to get back and be the proud owner of 5 pairs of green boots anymore. That's
Oh, fuck, those boots can die in a fire.
Before we like go full Doomer mode, I just want to so if you're a leveling Andy, if you play this game to like play hardcore, if you play this game to like just level characters because you think vanilla leveling is so best, like leveling and I would say early raid tiers for Feral are great, better even on TWoW. I still think I really love the constant. You can have a 0 downtime like rotation while you're leveling. You just like cat, get out of cat, heal, cat, get out of cat, heal. You can grind for just hours and hours and hours on end. And, you have the flexibility to like be a tank without making many talent spec compromises at all. Like you get to, so that's pretty good. Like the leveling experience is great. And then, early rating, it's fine. You're just kind of scaling and, you don't really run into the hard cap issues we're going to talk about later. With later itemization and later like gearing problems. So yeah, what do you think of like leveling and early rating? Do you think it's like distinctly good and powerful?
It's the best class in the game, hands down. Apart from maybe a paladin, but this isn't a paladin video. But
TWoW loves paladins.
yeah. But like, druid leveling is incredible now, especially with the changes of adding. Like a huge thing is Sylvan Blessing, which they recently added with CC2. It's basically priest, on kill regeneration.
Yeah, I'll go bring it up right now. Yeah, 50.
That combined with the whole, you don't use your one resource while in, another form.
Yeah,
has always been amazingly good for feral leveling.
Mm-hmm.
And TWoW just made that better. And they also added hit onto the tree, which we'll get into it for later being a problem. But early on, it's nice to have that additional hit, and it's nice to have Omen as well in that regards of like it's always on. It's not a castable buff that you have to cast on yourself anymore. It's just cool. You click this, and now it's your passive effect, and stuff like that makes early leveling or just leveling in general amazing. There's also the addition of more feral orientated items while leveling has also made it really, really nice. There are more weapons with armor as such. There are more non-armor slot items, so like rings.
Did they put like feral attack
trinkets.
power stuff, or I guess not really? It's still stat sticks. It's fine, right?
It's everything over item level 60.
Yeah,
is basically where that falls. But that does mean like your later dungeon stuff does start to have those things added to it.
Yeah,
which is nice. So like
the 2-point dip into Sylvan's Blessing is like totally justifiable while leveling. Going all the way to Omen, probably not, but the 2-point dip for sure.
Yeah, it's a respec option.
Yeah,
I like rushing to feral swiftness basically, and then respecing to grab Omen later on.
Yeah, it's pretty. It's just. I mean, it was already good in vanilla, and one thing that I just want to emphasize about leveling as well is just while you're leveling, you feel like a true hybrid. You feel like you swap into the form, the gear you're wearing kind of works around the form, and you basically have everything you need to perform a damage roll or a tanking roll in the same gear set. And that's something I think is lost later on with the itemization issues and like going into raid content and stuff.
And the other thing is like cooldown rotations while you're leveling feels really, really good. You're like, cool, I can use Enrage, do like hit some things in bear, and then I can swap to cat. I need to run over this quickly. I'll use dash. Like you're constantly cycling through everything, like your entire toolkit, basically.
Yeah, and that's good because like let's be like real, like because like Rogue has like a full toolkit built around like the energy system, and Warrior has like a full toolkit built around the rage system. When you're only playing one or the other, it feels a bit deficient. It feels a bit lacking. Like you really notice like the lack of things like a kick, for instance, right?
Yeah, having to do the dance of like run away from something to feral charge in, having to talent
Yeah.
for your kick. In PvE feels really bad. In PvP, it's kind of incredible having your feral charge, but PvE not so much. Very much not so much.
Yeah, and if you're on a PvP server while you're leveling, I mean, you can generally fight things on your terms. I mean, if you don't want to fight with someone, you can at least fucking book it in travel form. Or you can open on them, you can stealth around. Like it's good. It's pretty strong, and you can make some reasonable compromises in your spec to make it a little bit more stronger for PvP, like getting feral charge.
I absolutely think that like feral world PvP and to an extent like instance or BG PvP is stronger on TWoW than any other server. Like absolutely, ferals in PvP or druids in general are incredible on TWoW. They really are. Yeah, they're already amazing if piloted well, and now they're just They're a bit cracked.
They're unkillable. Like, how do I kill a flag carrier now with frenzied regeneration? That shit is absolutely cracked. The only reason they're killable is because just power creep of like burst and stuff. Like, we've got burst casters, like discipline priest with that searing light talent is just fucking insane. Like, but yeah, that's the only thing keeping druids killable. Like, but if you play melee, or you play physical damage class, go fuck yourself. Like, frenzied regen, fucking bear, like power shifting out of every snare. Oh, dude, cancer. But yeah, okay. So that's like the good shit. So the fundamental problem that has existed since vanilla that was completely failed to be addressed by CC2, and the reason why like later rating is really becoming a problem is the many hard caps of feral. So we've got the armor cap. We'll talk about the armor cap first, I think. So
we'll break it down into each segment.
Yeah. So we'll talk about the armor cap first. So the armor cap, I mean, we were already pushing it like because of inspiration and ancestral fortitude, which is like gives you 25% more armor when you get crit. We were already approaching it in like, you know, I'd say like how early? Like
you can push towards it in like some of your pre-raid gear and then a few items from BWL. Yep, you can absolutely hit it.
Yeah, like under Stone Shield and stuff, and then later on you can just skip the Stone Shield. Like if you can just drop it, and gear a bit more aggressively. You know, drop some of these whack ass armor trinkets or whatever. Yeah, and so the thing about armor in this game, I think it's important that people understand is that the developers are actually smart with the armor formula. The armor formula is linear. What that means is every point increases your effective HP and time to live versus physical damage by a consistent amount. So if I go from 0 to 1,000 armor, it's not as like it's exactly as impactful as going from say 15,000 armor to 16,000 armor. It's completely linear. So the only reason I think they implemented a hard cap of 75% reduction is because they didn't want it to get too goofy with like lower level content, because it's relative to the attacker's level as well. So for instance, let's just say you were tanking a whole dungeon full of level 20s. If the hard cap was, say, if there was no hard cap, you might get something ridiculous like 90% damage reduction and they can't kill you. Like, you know what I mean?
It would be a problem, yeah.
Yeah. It would just kind of be goofy, right? It would just kind of be goofy that somebody could just tank the entire instance and maybe do it on their mage or something, right?
and it keeps armor relevant when you're downgrading content, basically.
Yeah.
Like, you can't just completely outgear lower content.
Yeah. I do think that's an actual like problem. Like, I think it's a bit of a problem if people are threatening to just like farm 5-man dungeons at level 60 because the gear progresses too much, you know, or something like that. Like, yeah. So yeah, that's armor, but we're already like pushing the cap pretty fucking early, and yeah, feral just basically cannot scale the amount of damage reduction that they get from armor anymore. And the other tank classes are basically catching up and scraping the armor cap themselves, but they retain the huge advantage of all this avoidance stats.
And like that's the problem is from BWL onwards, you're not getting upgrades in your ceiling, basically, for lack of a better way of putting it. Whereas all the other tanks keep getting towards that, you know, in-game mechanical ceiling. And you go, cool, I've been at this ceiling for fucking 3 raid tiers now. Now what do I do?
Yeah, and the fucked up thing, the thing that really pisses me off is that they don't want to increase the armor cap. They won't even allow just feral to exceed the armor cap or something like that, right? They don't want to. They've talked. People are bringing up the armor cap on the Discord and stuff, and they've been like, hey, have you thought about increasing the armor cap? And they're like, no. And as I said, it's linear, But you know what's not linear is gaining avoidance, right? If I go from 98% chance to dodge everything to 99%, I've cut my damage intake in half. If I go from 99% to 100%, I'm literally unkillable, right? It's exponential.
Yep.
It's exponential. So the idea that avoidance doesn't have a hard cap, and we're hitting crazy avoidance levels, especially shaman tanks. Shaman tanks are almost hitting passive uncrushability, probably will hit passive uncrushability, 102.4% with UKH.
With UKH, yeah, yes, they absolutely will.
Yeah, so
I mean they're over 100 already, so
yeah. So that we've like the idea that we can't increase the armor cap and allow bears to have, say, 80% physical damage reduction from armor by going full thick mode on it, right? But we can allow avoidance to stack to this obscene level is just ridiculous, in my opinion. It's
something as well that was recognized by Blizzard in TBC when they're like, oh, this is a problem. You know, Sunwell Radiance got bought in because they were like, oh wait, this fundamentally breaks the game.
Yeah, I'm going to bring up Sunwell Radiance right now. So Sunwell Radiance is a zone-wide debuff that basically allows mobs to actually pierce your avoidance and actually do relevant damage to tanks, because they kind of fucked up and they gave tanks a little bit too much avoidance by the time that this final raid tier came. And they're like, well, you know, next expansion we can do a gear reset, whatever, so this avoidance will be reined in again. But for now we're just going to have to band-aid it with this increased chance to hit by 5%, reduced chance to dodge by 20%. So it just buys them 25% more like opportunities to actually hit you. And yeah, Blizzard recognized this as a problem because they knew, they're not stupid. They know that avoidance has exponential value. And this is like the whole idea behind like rogue tanking for the periods where it's been viable on like TBC and TWoW, right? While you're under the effect of these cooldowns, you are invincible, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So
and it's like
continue.
It's a problem where it's not either recognized by the devs how powerful avoidance is in terms of just as you approach those values. I mean, remember Paladins, when they changed Holy Shield, they basically changed it so that Paladins were uncrushable and uncrittable just from pushing a button, and you could be effectively naked to do this.
Yeah, you didn't
like
have
like a fresh 60 Paladin.
I mean, you wouldn't like actually be naked because you die in one hit, but you know what I mean.
Yeah. but yeah. Well, I mean, hey, you might not actually, you know. you
might dodge
it can't be a crit or a crush, so like, yeah.
Oh well, the block will kill you, but yeah.
Yeah, but like, yeah, and they already kind of know it's a problem. Yeah, and just ignore it.
Yeah, you're gonna have to. Once these guys get avoidance cap, the only way you're going to be able to threaten tanks is by making them hit so fucking hard that the block value doesn't matter, and they just. But yeah, even then, it's like you're just reducing the chance to be blocked with successive gearing. I don't know, but that's so that's pretty fucking crazy. Yeah, I just can't respect the fact. So right now, because of like without going full insane on avoidance, and to be fair, warriors, for instance, don't often do this because they lose too much rage. They can't generate rage. To be fair, but a warrior who's not being a total crackhead for like avoidance stats, just kind of wearing general thick boy stuff. I've looked at logs. These guys are taking, I'd say, 50% to 80% more. The bears are taking 50 to 80% more damage overall.
Yes.
And and they the trade-off for that is just not there, right? It's just they're just taking 50 to 80% more damage. As a healer, I just have to ride these guys' asses. I've got this clip right here. This is Mograine. This is 4 Horsemen, and look at this guy. This guy is hovering at about, missing about I do a quick lesser healing wave. He's hovering at 500 HP. I see him spike. I wind up a healing wave, and dude's just fucking dead. Dude is basically dead in 2 autos. Takes 2 autos and takes like fucking 8,000 damage. It's totally unreasonable. It's totally ridiculous. I'd
like to point out as well, to add on to that, that's an almost full T3 Abyss as well, in terms of
dude's
quote-unquote defensive stats.
Yeah, the defensive, like, he took 1 crush and 1 regular attack and proc some righteous fires, just no avoidance. Like, this is the only healer that I just get so like antsy about. I have to ride this dude's ass. It's such a tax. Like, I can't afford to I can't just like top with any other tank right now. I can top them up, and then I can stray for a bit, like reliably do, fire off a few chain heals, get some stuff like that. But like with this, with Bear, it's just like I have to precast on this dude because he's just gonna suddenly eat shit out of nowhere.
I think that is the exact player's guild quote as well, as sometimes I just die.
Yeah, sometimes I just die. That's the feral experience. And a big part of that is, I would say, resilience, and we'll get to that in fucking spades momentarily. The fact that a lot of bears are just running around with being able to be crit, and they're like the few. Every other tank has periods where you cannot crit them if they use their skills, if they push their buttons, basically.
True story.
Yeah. The next hard cap we'll talk about, glancing blows. So everybody knows glancing blows are a huge deal. Everybody knows that, Edgemasters handguards, basically all that thing does is give you 3% hit and glancing blow reduction. And it was still considered best in slot DPS for warrior forever, right? Glancing blows is a huge deal. It's a huge part of your damage profile as a melee, right? And they've introduced no ways to alleviate or mitigate or get around glancing blows whatsoever. They've decided, I guess they just want shred and bleeds to constitute the overwhelming majority of your damage profile. And what this means is, because your auto attacks are ass, you can't gear for haste. There's no point gearing for haste, and it's just a limiter on the way I see it. There was room to improve feral DPS. Feral DPS were not overperforming. There was room to improve feral DPS, and they didn't decide to do it by allowing glancing and allowing us to actually itemize for haste, which I think was a problem.
Yeah. And like every other class has access to solving this this damage penalty, this scaling penalty.
Yeah.
And TWoW isn't ignorant of it, because they changed how weapon skill works. They changed the formula. They made it so that weapon skill is linear instead of having soft cap, hard cap, and breakpoints. So they are intimately aware of how much of an impact it has on melee classes, and still
they added new
left
items
ferals in the dark
and stuff.
Yeah, like they're like, actually, you know what? Fuck you, ferals. You don't get access to weapon skill. Go sit in a corner. But they added polearm skill. They added, specific gloves for, you've got your axes, you've got your combi weapon options. Like, they intentionally just dropped all over the place different weapon skill options, which you're expected to use. They're all kind of in the glove slots for the most part. You're expected to use these to get like the quote unquote most DPS out. And feral is, not only do they not have a glove option for it, but they just have no option.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's kind of It's kind of ridiculous because it's like now we're actually staying in cat form like consistently to do like the bleed rotation and stuff. So the auto attacks are going off, but they're just like they're forever going to be so crippled by glancing blows that you're never going to give a shit about them, and you're never going to want to itemize for haste. And this is going to be a running theme. We're running out of things to itemize for. And that is a problem. Like, and you know, we've added haste to the game. We can't use it. There's a ton of weapon skill options available. We can't grab any of them. All we can get is crit and AP and hit.
But don't forget.
Oh, there's
we
armor
added we added hit to the tree as a precursor to Omen, which you get anyway. So now there's even less room for scaling your hit.
Yeah, we'll get to that in a bit as well. Yeah, and the final hard cap is just it's the crit cap. The crit cap is becoming a serious issue because since vanilla, there's always been a bunch of crit baked into the tree. We've got Sharpened Claws for 6%. We've got Leader of the Pack giving another 3%. So we just have 9% crit just straight up from talents right off the bat. And yeah, it's one of the few things we can itemize for. So people are getting it and getting a lot of it. And we're scraping the crit cap. I mean, what's the crit cap for bear?
Not even scraping. You do hit to it, and the crit cap for bear is even worse. Crit cap for bear is 42.50 on your 42.5% on your character sheet, and in reality, it's like 39.5.
Is it still optimal to use elemental sharpening stones like you did?
No, I wouldn't bother because you're going to be at crit cap anyway.
Oh,
and that's soft. That's soft crit, so that's obviously for autos, right? But like cat's at 56%, and you reach that in already available gear.
Yeah, that's another reason why wipes are always going to be dog shit, because they're going to be crit capped as well. Like, and here's the thing: don't get me wrong, crits are fucking incredible. Like as a tank or as a cat, like, or as any melee, I should say, you want more crit. But here's the thing: you're the only class again that doesn't have bonus critical damage. Like that's another thing that's not really talked about is, you know, you look at warriors and they have impale. You look at hunters, they've got what's the name of it? Killer mortal
instinct.
Shots?
No, well, yeah, mortal shots for range, but killer instincts like survival hunters have increased
they
damage
added
as well.
that for survival. Oh, nice.
Yep.
I didn't even
you look
know
at
that.
rogues, they've got lethality. You know, they've got critical damage bonus. And how my ignorance might be, I'll quickly check.
I've got the talents right here, if you want me to look.
For I think Rets are the only class that doesn't have increased critical damage as part of their like kit as such. They just have
a hybrid
generic
damage profile. They have like spell damage and stuff.
Yeah, they have generic. I don't care about this. So not only do you hit crit cap, which is like, oh, they're a really high crit class, but you're the only melee effectively. Well,
pure physical
that has
melee.
Pure physical melee. Yeah, that has no bonus to critical damage. So you're stacking crit, but you don't even get to do more damage with those crits.
Yeah.
Like it's this little known thing that double fucks you, where a warrior crit for 100 damage will be 220 damage.
Yeah.
Your crit for 100 damage will be 200 damage. Your crits are just worse.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
They always have been, and it's just
yeah.
I just can't countenance the fact. So we're hitting so many like hard, baked in limitations of like the combat system. And it just blew my mind when the class changes 2 came out, and I'm just like, there's no alleviation for any of this incoming, right? There's no alleviation, and
fixed nothing of the problems.
And we're getting it's so easy to hit the hit cap with the new talents now, and it's bizarre to me because you like look at UKH items and there's just like a bunch of random hit globbed onto them. Like let me try and find some of these fucking items. Like they've got
or haste.
Or haste, yeah, haste. Like for instance, like this belt off of Mephistoff has 2%.
The betrayal belt.
Yeah, the Grand Betrayal. The Grand Betrayal is that this is not even BIS for Feral. It's still the AQ40 Cthulhu belt. Like
Never Ending Agony is still better. Oh.
Yeah, it's but yeah, you've got like Forgotten Raven's Mallet. It's like increased. This is not even like particularly appealing for Bear. I mean,
so there's the ring. I guess the other one would be the ring, which is it's 32 AG, which is like your primary stat.
Yeah.
And then you just get hit and cast speed.
Yeah.
And you're looking at it, you're like, wait, hang on, or like attack speed.
Yeah, this was
like,
look at this chest off of Keeper Nalmoon. 2% hit, 45 agi, 18 stamina. Like, what the fuck is this? This is like...
Oh no, intellect.
Yeah, intellect.
We haven't even talked about that yet.
That's the thing, right? That they've realized that there's so few stats that they can give ferals that they just start glomming like shitloads of intellect onto the fucking tier and shit. It's just so goofy. Like
the entire 3.5 set for feral, every single piece except neck has intellect on it.
Yeah.
Like, ignoring the fact that they're worse items as well.
Yeah.
Like, that's the insanity. Ignoring the fact that they're worse items, they have intellect on them.
Yeah, we're kind of... We'll talk more about, like, their gear progression later. I
know. I'm jumping.
We're kind of jumping. It's like there's so many things wrong that we're just jumping all over the place. Okay, so the excess hit and crit, like, the thing you need to understand about when you start hitting this crit cap, not only is it like a hard cap where you lose value, it's kind of like a soft cap because your yellows are still critting at least, right? It's kind of like a soft cap. But here's the thing you need to understand about a DPS spec. So a DPS spec, it uses all the stats together as like an engine of damage. And if you are too heavy on one particular aspect, the rest of like, you don't get much value out of it. Like, if you have 10%, say, crit, and you go to 11% crit, that's a much more significant DPS boost than going from, I don't know, let's say 90% crit to 91% crit, you know? So what ends up happening is, because haste isn't a viable stat, really, you get disproportionately heavily weighted on AP and crit. Like, you're getting diminishing returns for the more shit you're kind of shoving into it, right? And it's like, I would really appreciate some haste right now, but because Glancing Blows are dog shit, never mind. It's not a good multiplier of my damage anymore. It's not a synergistic stat because the AP improves the value of the crit, right? My crits are even bigger now. Like, it's having a 30% crit chance when you have a lot of AP is a lot better than a 30% crit chance when you have no fucking AP, right? It's just... So these synergistic values that work together as an engine of damage are not really working in the feral spec because we just don't have an additional scaling avenue available to us.
And the thing is, this is the thing that has to be added, is there's no possible way to sidestep this. It's not like it's difficult. It's just, no, these are mechanical limitations of the game.
Yeah.
That's the biggest problem, is it's not I need to get these pieces of gear to open up this being an option, or I need this specific set bonus. It's a case of you are stuck dealing with the mechanical limitations of the game. Get fucked.
Yep. Any other melee is just like, I've got a really high AP, really high crit. Maybe I could really benefit from getting some weapon skill and getting some haste right now, right? There are that you can accidentally unbalance your build, but then you realize, I need to actually start emphasizing these items more to kind of balance out my build and get a more complete like DPS engine going, right? And
it's like balancing hit, right? As a rogue or a warrior, once you get high enough crit, and you're at your actual soft cap, you shift to gearing for a little bit more hit, so that you can take advantage of the higher crit that you've got. You've actually got that wiggle room to play around with your items, and it doesn't exist for Feral.
Yeah, you can basically increase your crit cap by gearing for more hit, because you take such a hit penalty with dual wielding. So you've got that kind of overhead. And yeah, the last suboptimal stat dead suboptimal stats I want to talk about is just defense. Like, why have we got defense rating on feral tier? What were the feral sets again? So it was like 2.5.
Oh,
was it?
So tier 1 is cat.
Yep.
And that's a whole other issue, the separation. But like tier 1 is cat, tier 2 is bear, tier 2.5 is cat, tier 3 is bear, and tier 3.5 is cat.
Yeah.
In quotation marks. I mean, they had to. This is how badly they fucked up the tier separations. They had to like wind back some of the stuff they did because, and I shit you not, a bunch of the gear just didn't have stamina on it for the cat stuff.
Yeah.
For the tier 1 and 2.5, and like, I don't know how I can emphasize how bad it is, but Feral already had the most issues, or like, as cat DPS had the most issues dealing with random AoE damage in general.
Yep.
And just have no
just
stamina on your tier gear.
Random AoE damage, you mean rate damage, yeah.
Yeah. And the thing is, it's not like it was like rogues, let's use them. Rogues have shitloads of stamina on their gear. It's not like there's no precedence for a leather wearing agility focused melee DPS spec to have stamina. It was an intentional design decision on the TWoW devs' part of adding brand new gear to assist these specs, assist Feral, and they're like, you know what? They don't need any stamina. Let's not put stamina on their tier gear. Not even an offset piece, which often it's talked about the trade-offs being that like offset pieces can be more lopsided in their stat distribution of, will have shitloads of strength and agility and almost, like no stamina on it. It's not even a case like that. This is your tier gear. It's meant to be this is your bread and butter. No, get fucked. Have no stamina on this item.
Yeah. So tier is the role of tier is that it's a generalist good stuff piece, right? It's like it has everything your class needs, and from there you can kind of branch out and be like, I want to get this glass cannon pair of gloves or whatever, right? I want to get this glass cannon pair of legs that are like just above tier. It's like, oh, it's a belt off the final boss, it's really powerful, I want to use that, right? Something like that. But it's meant to be good stuff. That's how it was designed. If you look at like the tier gear of vanilla and TBC, it's all good stuff. Now, in vanilla it was confined to just the one role, which was problematic. And I do appreciate the effort to make alternative tier sets. But this is where the like strict separation of cat and bear gear and talents like really started with like CC2. And I just can't get behind that, because like all they had to do was copy TBC. TBC, you had one set of gear for Feral, and it was just stats. It was just stats. It was strength, agility, stamina, little bit of intellect, not much, like 1/3 of what you would normally get like with a... And they had armor and bonus armor. And, the armor wouldn't be... armor and bonus armor wouldn't be super impactful when you're in, like, cat form, for instance, and make you too tanky. And, that's
the thing, right?
Like, the entire point of the feral forms is that they're force multipliers for the stats you have, right? So you can be versatile, right? So when I'm in cat form... that agility giving me 1 AP is a big deal. But when I'm in bear form, I don't get that agility giving me 1 AP, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of like you use the stamina. When I'm in bear form, that stamina is doing a lot more work than when I'm in cat form. And the bonus armor is doing a lot more work as well. You know, like this is how the set was designed. And another reason this is preferable is just, I don't want to fucking carry around like 27 gear sets, dude. Like, this is ridiculous. Like, can I just have like one good stuff set, and then I can be like, okay, here's my glass cannon cat piece over here, and here's some like thick boy bear pieces over here, but I have like a good solid foundation of one fucking tier set that I can work around, right?
And here's the thing, you already had to have so many different, like, as a feral player, not as like a DPS or a tank, but like as a feral player, you already had to have so many different sets of gear in general for like your different resist gears, your different resist sets, I should say. Like, you were already limited on bag space, and it annoys me, / it's kind of a cop out with TWoW being like, oh yeah, but like you have access to banks and raids now. Not everyone does. Like, that's
a pay to win feature.
Like, people be like, it's pay for convenience, but for tank classes, if you don't get any like of the pay to win bag, I shouldn't say pay to win, if you don't get any of the like the paid bags or paid assistance, if there's no one whose bank you can use, you're fucked. You're gonna have literally 1 to 2, sometimes none, spare slots if you're carrying like all your consumables for the raid that you need, all the different gear sets that you need for the raid, and they just double down on making it even worse.
Yeah. It blows my mind. It's like, oh well, you know, back in the day I had to like have a bag with like 10 manual crowd pummelers in it, and that was pretty awful. And then it's like, well, now you've got this ridiculous system where we've got defense gear that bears can't even benefit from because they can't like block parry, and it takes a fuckload to get crit cap. So it just feels bad to like build a shitload of defense just to get crit cap, and only crit cap, and then like a tiny bit of dodge. Like, that feels awful. And you know, when I go,
you can get defense cap if you use Stylines. What are you on about?
Yeah, just get Stylines as a bear. Like, that's that's not the most cringe thing I've ever heard in my entire life. Like, why on earth is that a thing? Like, I don't. And yeah, okay. I feel like it's a good time to talk about the resilience goat fuck, actually, because we're talking about defense. Like, resilience. So before CC2, there was they had resilience in the game. It was kind of intended as a PvP stat, but it was mostly just used as a tanking stat. What it would do is it would reduce your chance to be crit by 1%. Just straight up reduce your chance to be crit by 1%. So what you did was you got some of this, you got some resilience pieces. Maybe, let's say you got rid of like 3 or 4% crit, right? From like the gumbo consumable, the bloody belt buckle, and maybe a couple pieces. And then you kind of just like supplemented in like an extra, I don't know, say 40 defense, and you got crit capped, and you would push crits off the attack table, and that meant you wouldn't just randomly eat shit and die. And yeah, continue, go ahead.
To add into this, like, you could get, as a druid specifically, you could get 3% for free, basically. So chance to be crit is 5.6%. That's a tank's chance to be crit baseline before any defense. You could get 1% on a buckle, so it was irrelevant what belt you had. You could get 1% from a food buff that stacked with other food buffs, because gumbo stacked with, you know, mushrooms or berries. So you could run 25 stamina and then 10 stamina and 1% was your chance to be crit. And then you had the Northern shoulders. And now, here's the thing, they cost money to get. It's like a 700 gold item at like relative market rates.
150 dream shards. A dream shard right now goes for about 3 gold, 15 silver.
So that's not too bad right now.
Yeah, it's actually cheaper now. But
it's only like 500 gold. So that's pretty good.
It's only 500 gold.
Only 500 gold. That's good. But so there you go. That's 3% crit, and you've more than halved, or 3% crit reduction. You've more than halved your chance to be crit. You've gone from 5.6 to 2.6. with one specific item piece, it's not PvP required either. That's the thing. It was a PvE item added.
Yeah,
and the other is an enchant,
You could
and the
farm
other is a buff. Yes, exactly. And then on top of that, right, you had access to a couple of I guess, like, quote unquote niche pieces where you could grab blues that also had these stats on them, right? There was basically a helm wrapped with the transmogrified, which is from a dungeon, which you lost agility. It had massive amounts of armor, you lost agility, but it had that crit on it, or crit reduction. And then you could also grab the Defender's Glaive, which had some armor, had nice stamina, had 20 stamina, and had that crit reduction. So you could get, like, quote unquote suboptimal in their overall stats to take another 2% off, and you'd have 0.6% chance to be crit before any defense or anything else. And suddenly the chance of you taking spike damage, and we all know spike damage kills tanks, was just non-existent. And you had that choice of that trade-off of, cool, I'll run like 3% flat, and now I really want to make sure, like, I'm tanking patch, I'm main tanking patch, whatever. I really want to make sure I'm not getting crit. Or I'm main tanking Saf. I really want to make sure I'm not getting crit type situation.
Yeah.
And it was a good addition. Like a really good addition.
Yeah. I'm not saying, like, bears are, like, optimal tanks for these heavy mid fights, but, like, they should be able to off-tank something and not worry about instantly taking double damage and getting king hit for, like, half the health.
Yeah. That's the worst part as well, is they I might be too early to say this, like, they just take more damage than every other tank as well.
Yeah, like I said, I remember the night we realized how badly they fucked things up. You were tanking understudies on Resuvius. You died 2 pulls in a row, and I'm like, Thrax, you realize you're getting crit, dude. Like, and
I'm like, how the fuck am I getting crit?
And you're like, oh shit. So they've reworked this resilience into more of a PvP status. Just reduces damage taken from critical hits and damage over time effects by 3%. So if you try to do that same setup now, you're going to have crits that hit you for 191%, 4% or 3% of the time, or whatever the fuck. That's just untenable. Like, that's not... We can't have that happen. But yeah, he was dying to understudies. And, you know, I compared his overall damage taken to the other tanks. He was taking about 50% more damage. And then, you know, when I looked at Gluth and compared him to the Paladin tank, he was taking 80% more damage because it introduced crushing blows into the equation. And,
yeah, that was just fucked, right? Like, the damage disparity it's insane.
The damage taken disparity is
damage
insane.
Taken, yeah.
So the way feral bear tanking traditionally worked was... Yes, they always did take more damage because they didn't have avoidance. But they were the less spiky and more consistent tank. So they couldn't be crit, right? So like in TBC, for instance, they couldn't be crit. And they would avoid a lot less, but they would take the longest to go from 100% HP to 0 HP in the worst case scenario of being hit every single time, right? Or being crushed every single time. So they were actually valued by healers because it was like, hey, if this guy is topped, he's not going to suddenly fall over. Even if this is like a king hitting boss, he's going to soak it. And as long as I return to him in a reasonable time frame, he's going to stay alive. And that's just not the case anymore. It's like there's too much. There's crushings you can't get rid of, not even like temporarily with like a cooldown. There's crits threatening to just what the fuck own you out of nowhere. It's no good, right? It's just you can't play around it, and that's what I think is the most problematic. You can't predict it. You can't control it. The tank can't play around it. The healer can't really play around it besides just spamming the fuck out of you, like precasting all the time. There's no real counter or there's just no counterplay you can take.
And that, like, on that note as well, like, as a warrior or a paladin specifically, let's use those as examples, you can time your ability usage to push crits and crushes off the table. You know, you've got shield slam, shield block for a warrior, you've got holy shield for a paladin. Those are active mitigation or avoidance, depending on what terminology you want to use, but basically they are active damage reduction abilities. For Shaman, it's a little bit different in terms of they can do this effectively passively. As a druid, you have no options. Not a, I'll try and do this. It's a, you literally have no option, with the exception of we haven't even talked about this, a 10-minute cooldown. Right? Your damage reduction is a 10-minute cooldown that has a cap on the amount of hits it can absorb, and it only reduces physical damage by 50%. And that's on a 10-minute cooldown. That's the only option you have for reducing your damage intake. So it's not even viable to use every boss fight. They could have at least been like, we'll make it 6 minutes so that you have an option to use it every boss fight. But no, it's not even that. It's here 10 minutes, and it makes you move slower. We'll just add that on. That's just an additional. Here you go. Have fun. Now you move slower for using your only, mitigation cooldown.
Yeah.
Yep.
The
worst part is they added additional options into the talent tree of Berserk, which is, I think it's a good cooldown. So basically you've now got this Berserk cooldown, which is removes all fears, and then it's Adrenaline Rush and Last Stand combined. So 100% increased energy generation in cat form, or 20% health in bear form.
Yeah.
But it's on a 6-minute cooldown and it's combined. Mm-hmm. So you've got agency, I guess, of being like, do I want to use this for cat or bear? But it also means that if you use this for one, you can't use it for the other, and it's just feels bad to be like, cool, that's it, that's my option.
Yeah, so there's a bit of a disparity with like tank cooldowns. So a warrior or paladin, let's say they're tanking like twins, some king hitter, right? And they can be like, well, look, I just took a big fucking crushing blow. I'm going to push this button now, and crushing blow, I can't be crushed or crit again. It just cannot happen for the next, however many seconds, or next however many auto attacks. So I'm giving my healer breathing room to actually push his fucking buttons and heal me. And if he still doesn't do it, he's a bozo and rip me, but whatever. But bears cannot do that. They don't have like a short cooldown thing they can do to like push. What they have instead is oh boy, they have what was it? Feral adrenaline.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Would you like to talk about the history of this talent when it was first revealed in class changes?
No, so special fun time. Feral adrenaline got released. I spent a lot of time being involved with providing ideas and talking to the devs about like the actual problems that druids had, and basically some back channels of like talking about their plans and changes.
Yeah. Now
Feral Adrenaline got released, and it was originally released at 15%, so per point, so 15, 30, 45% additional dodge after you've been crit. Now the combat table, the TLDR is 15% chance to be crushed, 5% 5-point blah to be crit. So 20% of your hits are going to suck.
Yeah.
Well, Feral Adrenaline would make it so that you gain, an extra 45% dodge with your, say you've got like a native 30%, 40% maybe dodge. All of a sudden, the only possible attacks that can land on you are going to be a crit or a crush.
Yes.
And yeah, sure, okay, you can't take a normal hit in this instance, like it's quote unquote reduced your chance of the next attack landing, but it hasn't reduced the chance of what would have killed you previously of another crit or another crush.
Yeah.
And I called this out. I was like, this is categorically the worst numbers you could have chosen for this.
Yeah.
And
like
then on
crit,
top of that,
you get feral adrenaline, and then you just die to a crush. Like, that's the worst feels bad you could possibly do.
Yeah. And on top of this, it's a 30-second cooldown. It's not even like a 6-second or a 10-second cooldown. It's a 30-second cooldown. And it only works or only activates on critical hits. So the crush crit combo can still fuck you. You can get crushed and then crit, because feral adrenaline doesn't work.
What is even the fucking point of a 30-second, like, internal cooldown if it's only going to be until you dodge the next physical attack? Like, let's think about this. Like, when could you exploit this, right? It's only until you... It's not like you're going to AoE farm shit with this. It's not like, like I got a fucking... One mob crit me in a pack of 12. Now I'm just going to dodge the rest of them like crazy. Like, no. It's only until the next physical attack. Why does it... One extra dodge every 30 seconds? Are you fucking kidding me? This is so...
And it's not even guaranteed.
Yeah, it's not even guaranteed. So they buffed it. So now it will actually push off and you won't immediately die. But...
In good gear now.
In good gear.
Will. So,
yes.
Yeah, so now it's 60% instead of 45, which is the break point difference of... It doesn't just leave crits and crushes on the table.
Yeah.
You get to like 40% dodge now in decent gear and decent buffs. Yeah. Cool. Now it will push off the next hit. So you are pretty much like not guaranteed, but basically guaranteed to dodge the next attack that lands on you. And then you lose the buff, and then and then you lose the buff, and then it doesn't work for another 30 seconds. So then you get crit again after that, and then you die.
And the fucked up thing, I hate this. So with Paladin, right? They changed Redoubt. They were like, this is stupid. Why does it only proc when I get crit, right? As a tank, I'm trying to avoid crits. I'm actively building stats to lower the possibility of crits. I'm actively like trying to build towards crit cap, right? Or I push my active mitigation ability like Holy Shield so that I don't get crit. So I push the crits off the table, right? Why the fuck does Redoubt proc on crits? This is anti-synergy with tanks. I'm like, yeah, that's... And then they reworked it so that it's increased chance to block when there's a successful melee or range attack against you. And that's a totally sensible choice. That's a totally sensible choice. I just wish they would apply that extremely sensible choice to something like Feral Adrenaline. Like, why the fuck? It's goofy. Like, I'm building... I've got all these gear sets that are built around making this talent worthless. You know?
Yep.
I just can't countenance that. I don't know why the fuck we don't just have a 3% chance to be reduced chance to crit as a talent in this, or even 4%, you know, chance to crit
like
in the talent
anything
trap.
Because it wouldn't be difficult. Like it wouldn't be like a problematic, I should say. They could just remove feral adrenaline and replace it with 3 points of like reduced chance to be crit by 1, 2, 4.
Yeah,
you know, something like that. Then you're incidental. You still need 60 defense, which you're going to pick up a little bit on your tier 3 gear. Which I hate to add the defense back into the conversation, but it means that it's worthwhile to get an incremental amount of it to push off.
Yeah.
So not 60-40, and that gives you the combined total of 5.6. You get 4% from talents that you have to choose to get. So there's that distinct difference of this is for bear, not for cat. And if you want to make sure you're doing like mitt stuff, you can do this. But if you're doing flex stuff, you don't need to do this. You can do a more aggressive option.
Yeah.
You know, like it brings choice. It brings opportunity cost to balancing the tree instead of looking at Feral Adrenaline and being like, I'm never fucking taking that, even as a hard beer. I will take Improved Shred as a hard beer over Feral Adrenaline.
Just in case someone asks me to DPS.
Yeah, just fucking in case.
Yeah.
You know, and that's not even like approaching the other issues that we haven't talked about yet with the new rotations and stuff, but like that's how much I hate Feral Adrenaline.
Yeah. Like I just so the way the damage profile of the bear should look is this. Okay. They get a special talent that lets them go above the armor cap. And, you know, it's linear. It's not like they're going to get 100% physical damage mitigation because they literally need almost infinity armor to get there. That's how the armor fucking thing works, right? Okay, yeah. So, you know, they need they'll need literally double the armor cap to go from 75% to, say, 87.5% because that cuts the damage in half again, right? So, like, they just need, like, a ton of armor to really get those later percentages because it's linear. And so they're going to have this baseline damage reduction every time they get hit. They're going to reach crit cap through a combination of mostly tenets and a little bit of gear. And they're going to eat some crushings. They're still going to have that 15% chance to be crushed, but it's okay because they have dramatically higher armor than the other tanks, and they can actually kind of just soak those crushings, and you don't have this sudden, oh, what the fuck, I'm dead, you know, bullshit going on. And I think because we talked so much about mitigation, let's just talk about the DR. The
DR disparity.
Yeah, the DR disparity.
DRD. Yeah. So every tank gets armor cap. Now it's basically not up. Well, technically.
While they have inspiration,
while they have inspiration and stone shield, like in terms of if every tank can push towards it. And yeah, the arguments can be made. Oh, okay, well those are conditional, but also one's a 2 minute buff on a 2 minute cooldown that can't be removed for you unless you're fighting Gar, and the other is a conditional buff lasts 15 seconds, but it's you can spam 1.5 second cast. You can pre-up it.
Yeah, you can have a shaman. I think if a shaman spams it, you can have like an 80% uptime. If you really want 100% uptime, you can stick any combination of 2 shamans and 2 priests right on it.
And so like it's a thing. Yeah. So armor cap aside, let's say every tank's at armor cap. Druids have lost their quote unquote main benefit of, oh look, I'm at armor cap, right? Yeah. All the other tanks are like, so are we. And then you add in the fact that defensive stance is a 10% damage reduction. It has 10% less damage done. That's a good trade-off. I'm okay with that. I'm okay with doing less damage in the defense-orientated stance. That's fine.
And they allowed you to generate more threat in the battle stance now with the rework that they did to defensive tactics.
Exactly. So it's a good compromise. And then you get paladins, which are I just push my tanking button, which is Righteous Fury. Yeah. And they can talent for 10% less reduction. Hell, if they made Feral Adrenaline 10% less damage taken while in bear form, that would also fix this problem. Like Righteous Defense is 3 talents, 3 points for 10% damage reduction as a paladin while you've got RF on. Yeah. So here you go. Now you're the same as a warrior, just better because you don't have damage reduction attached to it. And then we come to shamans who, and I'm a huge fan of this rework. Rock Biter reduces the damage you take now by 10%, and you get a 2.5 set bonus, which makes that 15%. So now shamans are taking 15% less damage just all the time from everything. And that's the other thing.
That kind of compensates them a little bit for the lower armor value. So that's all right, I guess.
It does, yeah. But the other thing is that's from everything. Whereas druids just like armor only impacts physical. Yeah. You know, paladins and warriors and shamans. That's all damage taken. So you take less damage from marks. You take less damage from Righteous Fire, from Mograine, as an example, that clip before. Like, all of these things really do add up. And it just effectively works out to druids take 10% more, at least, magic damage than every other fucking tank.
Yeah, the boss does like an AoE that hits everybody for 1900 damage, and they take 10% extra from that as well, just for no reason.
And it just adds up. It basically means they require 10% more healing than every other tank, at least.
Yeah. And it doesn't...
And that's...
It seems like an insane case of, like, the left hand doesn't know what the right hand is doing. Because it's like, oh, we're working on the Shaman tank. Oh, we're working on the Prot Paladin tank. Oh, okay, we kind of have to fix this defensive stance disparity. Let's just give them all, like, kind of 10% as baseline. Maybe we can give them a little bit more than that with some special things like Paladins have that Consecration Relic that gives them another 5%, and they can actually give that to other people in the Consecrate. That's really cool. I like that. And, you know, there's...
And the Devotion Aura Libram as well, for when you've got Devotion Aura on, everyone takes less physical damage.
Yeah,
that's another option.
Yeah, there's a bunch of DR options. And then it's like, Feral, where is it? Oh, they put it on the tier 3 set. I'm like...
Eight set. There's 8 piece as well.
8 set, yes. And the 8 set, it's like a stacking, like, buff, isn't it?
So there's history on this. So... and again, I called them out for this because it used to be it lasts for 10 seconds, and every time you used it, you'd get 1%. Every time you use Savage Bite, which is a 6-second cooldown, you'd get 1% damage reduction, and it stacked up to 10. So it would take 60 seconds to get the same damage reduction as every other tank has to start off with. But it only lasted. Yeah, you could ramp your damage reduction, but it only lasted 10 seconds. If the fight involved any movement, you would lose all of your stacks. So that was the first iteration. Lasted 10 seconds on a 6-second cooldown ability, and stacks up 10 times. And then they were like, "Oh, this is fucked because we made a boo-boo. We'll make it stack 4 times." Okay. Last 15 seconds, but we're gonna change Savage Bite's cooldown, which is the primary. It's like Bloodthirst, or it's like Shield Slam. It's the primary
threat generating
rage
ability.
Damage ability.
Yeah.
Threat generating.
Holy Strike for Paladin. Yeah.
Yeah, like don't get me wrong, Maul is good, but Maul's like on next attack, so it's a bit different. Savage Bite is your snap threat. I can push this and it's going to go off instantly. They were like, "Oh, we'll fix this by changing the stacking time from 10 to 15 seconds, and we'll change Savage Bite to a 10-second cooldown instead of a 6-second cooldown." Bear in mind, Shield Slam is 4.5 seconds at this point. Like, talented Shield Slam is 4.5 seconds. So suddenly Savage Bite was going to be 10 seconds. And then everyone was like, "That's real fucking dumb. Don't do that."
Yes.
And so they didn't. So the end up compromise was the buff lasts 15 seconds. Savage Bite is still 6 seconds. But it only stacks 4 times. So it takes 24 seconds if you get to use a Savage Bite at the start. It's technically 18 seconds to get the damage reduction up. So that's a shitload better than the original, you know.
Yeah.
But it's 8%, and if you don't land a Savage Bite, it goes off. But obviously, it's a lot better than what it used to be. But it requires 8 set tier 3. You are hard locked to 8 piece to get this to work.
Yeah.
Which is just absolutely
insane. You could wear 8 specific pieces of gear. You could ramp for 24 seconds on a boss that immediately threatens to kill you, or you could turn on Righteous Fury.
Yes, yeah, that is, and the Righteous Fury is better because it's 10%, not 8%.
It's just goofy, like. In every expansion, in every iteration of Feral Tank, it's like they take the least damage when they get hit because they don't avoid stuff, and they're taking the most damage now. It's actually so backwards. I don't even know where to. It's completely I don't see how, like, this is the biggest disparity in tank balance I've ever seen. It's obscene to me.
And now here's the thing, right? Is I know we're ragging on them right now, but I'll add 2 things. If you're wearing full tier 3, so this is 9 pieces, it's less than 70 defense. I just want to put this out there.
Yeah.
Right? You need 140 if 9 of your item slots out of like 15 are
occupied by tier 3.
Occupied by tier 3. You've got like weapon, trinkets, a neck, back, and a ring slot.
Yeah.
To get the other 70. Right? If you want to approach that like
good luck.
Yeah. No, hey, Stylines. We were talking about this.
Stylines. You gotta just get Stylines.
Just stick a Stylines on. It's fine. You know? I mean, I'm just okay. I have to add this as well now because this personally annoyed the shit out of me, and it's about gear and all that. Basically, in UKH is the new trinket they added, the new tanking trinket. So they added Edict? King's Edict. Yep. Now they could have chosen to have it. They could have chosen any way of doing this because this is a custom item.
Yes.
Right. King's Edict is some stamina. That's good. You want that on a trinket. 2% parry, 1% dodge, 13 defense, and then successfully parrying an attack grants you attack power for 8 seconds. This effect stacks up to 2 times.
Yeah.
They could have chosen that to be dodge. They could have swapped the dodge and parry around so that okay, cool, druids don't get full benefit out of it, but they can at least do this. Instead, they're like, hey, here's a custom tanking trinket. Get fucked, druids.
Yeah, get boned.
They're the only tank that's just like, oh, I'm never going to use that. Shamans, warriors, paladins, fucking love that trinket. They're like, this is awesome. I want this in my life.
Yeah, and there's no real alternative to, like, good tanking trinket in here, is there?
What are you on about? There's Castelline's Shawl from LKH, man. That's what
from
you
the 10
want to be
man,
using.
I think the eye level on that is a little lower. I don't know. I don't think that's as good.
It's like, and okay, so here's the insane thing. One of the best, if not the best, combination of druid like quote unquote tanking trinkets is Araxina's Husk, which is armor, stamina, and dodge, and Hate Reaver Cog, which is armor, stamina, and haste. Those are your trinkets for tanking.
Yeah, a fucking blue. I just
like
why on earth? Why on
feels
earth?
Bad.
Why on earth is it like? I remember like getting Mark of Tyranny in vanilla. I'm like, oh man, vanilla's so jank. You know, this one weird armor trinket. You know, Heart of the Mountain as well. Heart of the Mountain and Mark of Tyranny. You know, these goofy, these goofy fucking trinkets. I never in a million years thought, yeah, man, TWoW. Class changes too, itemization rework, all that stuff is done. New raid tier, full of new items, and best trinkets of the game are fucking blue. Are you fucking kidding me? Like, what is going on? Like,
one from a dungeon and one from a 10-man, like 4 raid tiers ago.
Oh boy.
And the thing is, like, it's not even a case of but like, because druids are good at threat. We know this.
Yeah.
Like, yes.
One of the few reasons to play a bear druid right now, I know we're doom posting, but one of the few reasons to play is that their TPS generation is just so ridiculously above curve. That's the reason you play them.
It's technically nerfed though with MCP removed, which is a funny thing. But I'm okay with MCP being
yes. I think we can all agree not having weapon progression for Feral because of MCP was stupid and it needed to go.
Yep. So I'm happy with that, but their threat output is technically lower. The semantics of having to like share that. But yes, they do good threat, but like your primary role as a tank is to not fucking die.
Yeah.
And anyone who wants to argue that is like, no, your role is to like have threat on the boss. Like, no, your role is to not die, and then you work on your threat ceiling.
Yeah.
Like not dying while the big bad is hitting you is the most important thing, because if you're dead,
you can't hold threat if you're dead.
Yeah, exactly. Like once you're dead, doesn't matter how good your threat is.
And I'm not like advocating for like full 2005 boomer thick boy like only mitigation stats. Like I'm not saying that.
Wait till 3 Sunders before you DPS.
Yeah, wait for 3 Sunders, guys. Like I'm not saying that. Like I played Feral on fucking Nostarius. I was popping MCPs and going hard on threat and, letting all these warriors, like, pump fucking hard. Like, I get it, right? And what's happened is, like, you look at the speedrun meta of TWoW, and they're using Feral tanks, and it's just because they've got the highest threat ceiling, and they're pumping, and, everybody else, all the DPS players are pumping behind them, and that's cool. But the healer players are like, I've just got a precast on this fucking guy 100% of the time because his defenses are fucking dog shit. Like, it's just a miserable meta for healers to play, I think, to have to constantly have anxiety about keeping bears alive for the entire raid.
You don't get a single moment. It's like, so we have a shaman tank in our guild, in our raids.
Yep.
And if shit hits the fan and it ends up on the shaman tank, all of the healers are suddenly like, oh, that's fine. Like the fight is saved. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, we had a complete goat fuck of a Fairlina where these idiots killed the NPC, so we couldn't get really enraged. She basically kills like a bunch of tanks, gets to the shaman, hits him once with a crushing, gets him to like 200 HP, and then he's just like dodge, 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 parry, miss, dodge, dead. Dead.
Yeah, it's just like. Yeah. He's like, this is fine. This is what I'm built for.
It's fine. Don't worry about it. Like, so we got shaman tanks over here tanking enraged Fairlinas for like 15 to 19 seconds, but these bears are just gonna randomly eat shit if you're not precasting on them. It's actually so goofy.
And the thing is, still does really good threat as well. I need to point that out. Like that's not doing no threat either. Okay. That's doing good threat. Because he maintained threat above all the other casters and melee DPS. Okay. So it's not like he was trading off being able to do any threat for that.
Yeah. The only other tank disparity, I mean, we kind of touched on it. It's like the tanking cooldowns. So it was so... They originally had Bulwark on a 3-minute cooldown, and we were like, that's crazy. That's crazy, man. That's crazy. It's the Paladin DR cooldown. It was very cool, but like that sounds like retail, like having a tanking cooldown on a 3-minute cooldown. Like when warriors are still running around with like talented shield wall at 10 minutes, No,
20 minutes or 18.
20 minutes. 20. Oh, yeah, it might be 18. Yeah, sorry, I was wrong. It takes 10 minutes off. It's the other way around.
Takes 10 minutes off.
It's the other way around. Yeah. So like. Shield wall as long as fuck. You just talked about, what was it, Barkskin? That was like 10 minutes?
Yeah.
It's absolutely cooked. And, I mean, shamans don't have dick, but that's because their passive... I assume that's because their passive mitigation is so fucking high with their avoidance levels. They're like a rogue tank that can actually take a hit every now and then. It's kind of goofy. But yeah, I just feel like there's a cooldown disparity as well. And we should move on to gear progression. Like, in general, is kind of all over the fucking place. Now, it was already scuffed in like vanilla because we had to bootstrap and theory craft so many goofy things to make like Feral work, like power shifting and using MCP. So in the vanilla game, gear progression was already a bit fucking weird for Feral. You kind of had to know what you were doing, but it wasn't improved with these tier sets. It wasn't improved with these new items. Things are still really goofy where you're still using... We kind of talked about the tanking trinkets, but it's also like cat things as well and like other bear pieces that are staying relevant way beyond their current tier. Like, is there an upgrade to Southwind Helm yet from AK20?
To jump in on this, they'd already made steps to fix the early gearing issues of like not needing to like find these really awkward things by adding a crafted set into the raid, like confluence of elements. Yeah. Which like it works. It's a good tanking set. It's a little bit overpowered, so they did nerf it, and I'm okay with that because it was too powerful because it invalidated a lot of stuff. So they'd already added, a whole bunch of options for for basically gearing that doesn't involve killing a rare summon mob that you have to keep trying to kill.
Or Rock Doom Hell. Yeah, dude. Trying to get like a slag hide gauntlets of the monkey or of the tiger. Fuck, dude.
Fuck me. Like it was a thing. So don't get me wrong. I'm a big fan of that being changed.
Yes,
because like that sort of stuff really awkward, made it really difficult. But then all the gear they've added, so like there is something better than Southwind Helm, except kind of not at the same time.
Yeah,
like
elaborate.
So how it works is Southwind Helm is from AQ20, and for the longest fucking time it was the best in slot helmet for ferals, because it had 21 strength, 24 agi, and 1% hit. And druids want raw stats.
Yes.
You know, feral druids want raw stats. Like that's what they scale off. They have 20% increased strength in cat form, and they get agi to AP in cat form. So it's really, really good for them, basically. Yes. And
again, the form is acting as a force multiplier for these DPS stats. So you're not getting insane DPS when you're a fucking bear, right?
Yes, effectively. And that's fine. That's how it works. The 2.5 helmet, before they rebalanced the stats, in fact, I think it's still... I'll go check. It still has intellect and spirit on it. Is
spirit.
15 strength, 22 agi, 14 stam, 21 and 16 spirit, and then it has 1 crit and 1 hit. Now, the irony was, because the strength and agi were a little bit too low originally, Southwind was better because you didn't care about the 1% flat crit on the 2.5 helm.
Again, we're running into the itemization issue. Like, if haste was good for feral and usable, they could just put haste on it. You know, fuck.
And it'd be fine. And so, like yes, Genesis is better, and hell, the tier 2 tanking helm is quote unquote technically better because it also has flat crit and decent enough strength and agi now.
Yep.
But it's incrementally horrible. And I guess a good example would be like Lionheart. Everyone, well, a lot of people hate Lionheart helmet, but like Lionheart helm was previously the best in slot helm for warrior DPS.
Yeah.
It was stupid. You know, level 58 or earlier.
Yeah.
I think it was earlier than 58 actually. Craftable helm that you just used for DPS. I agree that was fucking stupid. Should have been changed. And they changed it, and now I think it's in a good spot now. But the fact that they can make changes to items to make them more usable, and then when it comes to feral, they're like, oh no, we don't want that to be that good. We don't want you guys to have options to have upgrades in raw stats. So like the 2.5 helm has less strength and less agi than Southwind.
Yeah.
Like it just has less raw stats.
Yeah,
they've done and this. It has the same stamina. Like,
they keep doing this. They keep taking raw stats off the tier. They try to put haste on it when haste isn't good. They try to put crit on it when we've got a super crazy amount of crit and we're pushing crit cap. We're past crit cap. And they give us hits when we have too much hit. Like, they just keep taking stats off the fucking shit to give us more stuff we don't need. It doesn't make any sense.
And the thing is, you could very easily fix the itemization for feral cat specifically by putting a bunch of strength on it. Yep. Like that's what they want. Like a great example would be comparing. Let's compare the World Breaker belt to Grand Betrayal. Right. This is probably like the best example.
Yeah, this is a fantastic example. Yes.
Of how fucking stupid. So I'm sure you'll end up like chucking it up on the screen. But
yeah, I've got World Breaker Girdle right here. Yeah.
35 strength, 25 agi, 17 stam, hit and haste, right? Now, and that's for a dual wield class, so that's fucking incredible. You want more haste as an auto attack, as your highest damage ability usually class, right? That's really good. And it's plate, 578 armor. We go to Grand Betrayal, no agi, no strength, 16 stamina, and 152 armor, and then it has flat attack power, 1 crit and 2 haste.
Yeah,
it's worse than Never-Ending Agony, which is about, from at this point, 2 raids ago.
Yes. And it's so sad as like a feral. It's like, dude, I just can't wear this because it's plate, but I really want it. Like, what the fuck? It's like they've intentionally kept it out of reach for feral. Like they've
and that's the thing. Like, it's a brand new item. They could have made it they could have easily made it a fucking leather item.
Yeah,
that'd be fine, you know. And it's not even like a close comparison. Like, Never-Ending Agony is just decently better. And I know this is where you'd be like, oh yeah, but okay, you're swapping like hit for haste. Like, you're swapping 1 hit for 2 haste. But it's also less AP as well. And I understand that if you're looking at it in isolation, like, oh, but didn't you just say that druids don't need much hit because of all this? And like, yeah, that's correct, but why did they give me a fucking ass belt as my changing option, which barely scales everything else and makes the damage that I do with my yellow attacks worse? Because again, it has less attack power.
Yeah.
So I'm going to scale my white attacks, which is already the worst part of a druid's, you know, damage profile, to be better and lose damage on my yellows for the best, I shouldn't say best, but for the last boss in the game, for a 3.5 like pinnacle content. And it's so completely and utterly meh.
Yeah. People have gone through the entire like loot table by now. You know, it's up on the database, and players were like, I remember some guys saying there's about 3 unambiguous upgrades for cat and bear each. That's it.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
And
one of those is the fucking neck.
So 3 for cat, 3 for bear. So 6 items maybe. Yeah.
Yeah.
In a full, like, and it's such a bizarre disparity because for every other class, it's like, I mean, look, the loot off the first few bosses is very lackluster. Everybody knows that. It's I don't know. I have feelings about that. I'm kind of upset, but like if you clear the fucking raid tier, you're gonna get some juicy fucking shit. Pretty much no matter what class you're playing, unless you're playing feral, in which case you're not gonna get dick. It's just so terrible. Like, especially considering this is such a hard raid tier. It's so much consumable demands. It's so unrewarding to, you know, play feral and just like there's like nothing here. It's like Nax 2.0. Like you have the benefit of like 15 years of hindsight to itemize for this class, and you almost do as bad a job as Nax. Like, it's sad, dude.
And so here's the final jump on this as well for me is the Tunic of Demonic Deception.
Yeah.
Is incredible in terms of like an item for feral druids. So it proves that they're capable of making items that are interesting. It has good strength, great agi, decent stamina, raw crit, hit, and then it's got armor pen. Like it's and not like a little bit, it's 75 armor pen, so it's a decent amount. Like,
yep.
If they'd wanted to itemize druids to be let's make it so that druids alone can stack armor pen, they could have put a bunch on their 3.5 gear in that regard. But like, that's an example of itemization that's done well.
Yeah.
So it means that they're capable of doing it, ignoring the fact that literally every single fucking melee DPS is trying to try and get their hands on Tunic of Demonic Deception.
Yeah.
And it's going to be a case of like, can you fuck off and give it to feral druids first? Because they don't get anything else.
Here.
They don't get anything else nice from UKH. Just give them this for the love of fuck.
Yeah.
And then on the flip side is Rakashishi, the polearm.
How do you spell that shit?
Raka
yeah.
apostrophe SHISHI.
Oh yeah, I've got it. Spear of the Adrift Hunt. Okay, yep.
Now this is the polearm where it's like, oh, awesome. And it might segue into like doing AoE damage or cleave damage, but cool, they're gonna add a weapon that makes you do cleave damage. Oh wait. This effect is disabled while shape-shifted.
Yeah. So
the the weapon quote unquote upgrade, which already is like going to be a bit of a fight because there are going to be a whole lot of classes who might look at this and be like, well, it's best in slot for survival hunters. Cool. We figured that would be the case. But a whole bunch of other people might look at it and be like, it's kind of looking like a tasty snack. I might want that. And druids are looking at it like, fuck you all. Yeah. Why do you get nice things? Why did you literally put this can't be used while shape-shifted?
Everybody's complaining about like, yeah, cats have no AoE DPS. They know that. They kind of designed this item around that, and they only allow you to do it out of form. That's like the most counterintuitive, like nonsense shit I've ever seen. Like what on earth?
It's just like it's kind of impressive how much of a fuck you they
to feral specifically it is.
Yeah. Basically.
And the other thing is like, look at it's got weapon skill as well. The irony, like, we can't use weapon skill in forms.
Yeah,
like
that's the best bit.
It's like they know, dude. Like, it's almost like a item designed specifically to piss you off. Like, what the fuck is this? And I don't know. Like, it's absolutely crazy to me. So yeah, the lack of cleave. I mean, yeah, we'll talk about that later. But before we move on from itemization, I just want to ask one final question. We've added all these goofy stats to the game. We've got vampirism, we've got meditation. There's a rant on meditation incoming. You watch out. Oh, you fucking dragon over here. I've got your number, dude. I'm going to tell it. Okay. Armor pen, meditation, vampirism. We got haste. All these new and exotic stats in the game. Where the fuck is expertise? Let us lift the crit cap. Let us lift the crit cap with expertise. Like... And let tanks get more consistent openers. Like, why is an expertise in the game?
Because, and I quote, "Fuck you." That's why Blizzard did it in TBC, so it's bad.
Yeah,
that's reductionist, but we do already know that the TWoW devs don't like pretty much anything, any solution to a problem that Blizzard has done. They actively try and avoid.
Yeah, any sensible choice that was made in TBC, good luck getting it implemented into the game.
But before we dive into that rant, I have to get you to look at the last thing is Shartateth, the axe, right? They could have made SHAR and then apostrophe TATTH. They could have made this an axe. I mean a mace, by the way, which would have been more fitting as well.
Yep. Could have made this a mace, but because it's an axe, feral can't use it.
Because it's an axe, feral can't use it. But that's the weapon that feral would want. Chuck some feral attack power on that, make it a mace. That would be that'd be what you'd want.
Shut to death, absolutely. And the expertise, it's so goofy because it's like people. You're a tank. You want to gear for threat. Okay, you start gearing for threat. The problem is when you gear for threat as a tank right now, what happens is your longitudinal like expected rate of TPS on like a 30-minute or like 1-minute time frame is fine. Like nobody's pulling off of you. If you've got 30 seconds to consistently build threat and the damage dealer does 30 seconds of damage dealing, there's no way he's generating more threat than you. There's no problem. So we're increasing like the long-term TPS generation, but there's nothing for like the high variance opener where you get fucked. Like if your shield slam or your Savage Bite, or your Holy Strike, or your Earth Shock gets missed, resisted, whatever, dodged, parried, get fucked. Get fucked. Like, you can't do anything to alleviate the bad beats. You can't do anything to alleviate the RNG on the pull. And that feels so bad. And they've recently nerfed Blessing of Salvation. They're like, oh yeah, Salvation is a bit too strong. We feel like threat is becoming a bit too much of a non-issue. It's like, well, every time they build threat stats, they increase their average TPS really fucking high, but it does nothing for the start of the fight where people rip off them.
It's like doing Thane opening is probably one of the best examples of this, where like if Thane goes to someone else, it can be a problem.
This is 4 horsemen, by the way. If you're not,
yeah, 4 horsemen. Yeah. And so I have to very clearly be like, parried if it happens. You have to vocally be like,
you have to call it.
Oh, I've been fucked. It's a not just a passive. Oh, that happened. I have to be like, oh, my damage abilities got parried. We're fucked on threat for a few seconds until I can do them again. If Bloodthirst, Shield Slam, if any of those get parried, or Maul, Savage Bite get parried, cool. Thanks for playing. Try again in a few seconds. And it's 14%. Coupled with dodge, it's 20.5% chance. Just, a fifth of the time, your abilities as a tank aren't going to fucking land. Yeah. And that's an insane amount of variance. And again, like, not Feral specific, but tank specific. They could do that to Feral of, hey, why don't we make it so that Ferals have, reduced chance to be parried or dodged.
In the talent
so
tree.
They can make it. Yes, yeah, in the talent tree. Cool. You don't get weapon skill, and we'll keep that as like a unique thing. But instead, you have, make it 3 points, and mobs have a, 2, 4, 6% reduced chance for your abilities or attacks to be dodged and parried. It doesn't completely eliminate it for feral tanking in terms of, you still have a little bit. But if you're DPSing, cool. You've now got that bonus 6% quote-unquote hit. It's that additional scaling vector that other classes can't get, but you don't get weapon skill. So it keeps it unique, but it's also a way of, this is an additional way you can get your damage scaled. The only issue is then it just puts it into the tree and it becomes like a passive set and forget. There's no opportunity cost around it. It's just here, you guys shit out of luck, have this.
Yeah, I would kind of I think a little bit of a hybrid solution. I'd like to have a talent for a little bit of that, and then actually have expertise in the game just for all the tanks. I just think it just needs to happen.
I do think we need we need expertise.
I think the variance and having no way to play around the variance is dog shit. I just think it's trash. But yeah, like with Cat, like, I'm not sure if the math would still... It might actually help make haste more valuable, right? If maybe we still get glanced, but at least like 6% of the time we aren't doing 0% white damage, right? Or whatever the fuck, because the dodge is gone, So
yes,
that would help, to make haste actually worthwhile. And I don't know... Nice. I don't know why... Yeah, I feel like of all the stats you could potentially add in the game, like... You got goofy shit like Vampirism. You got the reworked resilience that nobody gives a fuck about, even if they do PvP and the goat fuck of a game PvP is on a next progress server. But whatever. So yeah, I think that's pretty much everything for itemization.
Yeah, I'd say it's definitely covered itemization now.
Yeah, that's the full court press. Okay, I think
the last thing is like cat rotation, right?
Yeah, we're just going to talk about cat now, like cat rotation. So, do you want to start or should I?
Yeah, you can go.
Okay, so the reality of the 1.12 client is that the cat rotation feels fucking jank. It feels counterintuitive. It feels unresponsive. If you've got high latency as well, and you can't really control your latency, it's just who you are as a player, right? It's very latency sensitive as well on the 1.12 client. It's rough. It was bad enough, I was a sweaty fucking player when I played Druid on Nostalrius, but power shifting with 300 ping on the 1.12 client was like, You know, it's like stuffing bamboo shoots under my fingernails. It's painful, and I just like. It's not that it's not, and on top of that, the rotation is very complex, and there's no alternative, right? It's like if you want to do good damage, you have to learn how to do this shit, and it's kind of rough because it's a hybrid, right? So when you have a pure DPS class, you might have a brain surgery spec. It might be like, oh, the real gamers play Affliction Warlock because Affliction Warlock is complex and hard, but it can be rewarding if you master it, right? And if you're like, I don't really know how to do that, you know, maybe your wife wants to play the game and she doesn't really have a ton of time to commit to that. But you just say, oh, well, don't worry about it. Just play Destruction. Destruction is pretty simple. Just play Destruction. We can have some fun together, you know. Or someone's new to raiding. It's like, just play Destruction till you find your footing a bit. If you really want to go out and branch out into Affliction later, you can do that. But with Druid, with hybrid classes, it's like you kind of have the DPS spec, and balance is very complicated now. They've reworked balance. It's a very complex caster DPS spec. I like it, but it's very complex. And Feral is equally complex. The power shifting rotation is equally complex, and it's subject to. So it's very rough. Like if you have someone who's pretty new to the game, it's very inaccessible. You know, there's no like, hey guys, just spec Frost and press Frostbolt kind of option. There should be a low skill option, is all I'm saying. It doesn't need to be like the highest DPS in the game, but there should be accessibility. There should be low skill options, right?
And I think like that's the problem with Druid in a nutshell, and what they've done, because I'll use this to lead into the new rotation that they've added to the game for Druids, is with power shifting. It's like a priority system, you know, because of how Omen works, how it interacts with Ferocious Bite. You know, it's been a case of cool, depending on
your energy and your procs, and it's complex.
Yeah, like it's not just a this is what I do, done type situation. You know, it's a case of cool, I've got 3 combo points, I shred, I got 2, I Ferocious Bite, I've got 2 combo points, I shred, I got 2, cool, that's a 4-point Ferocious Bite instead of using a shred on that, because I'm about to shift, because I've got a tick coming up, because, you know, you do tick shifting. Like, there's a lot of these things where it's not that it's not doable, because it is doable, but there's a bunch of variables you have to learn, and depending on what the state is of your combo points and your energy and when your next tick timer is, there's a lot of different things or different choices that you can make in the moment on what to do. And if you fuck up your shifting, you can just fuck your damage for a bit, basically. Like it's not a that sucked, my spell resisted. It's a I fucked my shift and I did a ferocious bite with like a full energy bar, and now I have to shift outside of a tick.
Yeah.
And that's a problem.
It's very punishing.
Ignoring the fact as well that like you're hard stuck on an enchant to the helm, Wolf's
Wolf's Head Helm.
That's the other thing we don't. Yeah, that like Wolf's Head Helm was a thing that people will know. TWoW changed it to be an enchant, which is why Southwind became best in slot. If anyone's wondering, that's a thing we didn't technically cover. But instead of just making Fura be, 60 energy, they made it into an enchant. So that's a thing. Anyway, moving on from that is the new rotation they brought in is based around effectively a new talent called Ancient Brutality, which went through a bunch of changes, and like the tooltip is still wrong with how it works, but the long story short is every time a bleed effect ticks, you get 10 energy.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other talent is Open Wound, which is your Ferocious Bite does 3% more damage for each active bleed effect on the target. And now a bunch of people might not know this, some people might, but like RIP has a static duration for the combo point usage.
Yeah.
So it's not a cool, using this, and if you do it with 5 combo points, it'll last longer. It's very much a case of like you do 1 combo point and it will last for 12 seconds every time, which is different to what most people might know with scaling bleeds, which is rupture from the rogue, which is the most common one, where like a 1-point rupture just lasts less time than a 5 combo point rupture. So a 1-point rupture is 8 seconds, and a 5 combo point one is 16. Like it's double the time basically.
Mm-hmm.
But with feral, it's not. It's just flat 12. So the new rotation involves maintaining rake, which is an ability that most feral druids don't even have on their bars. Didn't have on their bars. Yeah, because that's how fucking bad it was. Trying to make sure you open with pounce.
Yeah.
Right? Just to make sure.
Yeah, pounce.
Just to make sure. And then you maintain a 9-second and a 12-second debuff on the boss while maintaining an 18-second buff on yourself with Tiger's Fury. And then you basically shred and claw depending on your current energy from like the ticks that you've gotten.
Yeah, that sounds really easy.
So,
yeah.
It's it's super easy. Now bear in mind, auto attack damage for this, it's like most of your damage is still going to be auto attack damage while you're juggling these like 6 or 7 different plates.
Yes.
So just under half your damage, because you're a melee martial class, it's still going to be auto attack. Yeah. Just in case anyone's like, oh, so like I'm going to do more? No. And it's kind of evenly split between shred and claw, depending on, you know, what your energy state is. But it's categorically more complex, the new rotation, than the priority power shift of, you know, of Ye Old, where it was just like, cool, you had a priority system and it was, you know, you had to pay attention to it at all times. And you kind of, you were GCD locked, like you played like a crack monkey, but the system was just on you, if that makes sense. Like it was just kind of combo points and energy.
Yeah.
This is now combo points, energy, 2 debuffs and a buff. And the thing is, you don't want to do like a multi-combo point rip. You kind of just want to do 1 combo point rip so that you can do 4 or 5 combo point ferocious bites. So like it's they somehow managed to make the alternative to power shifting more complicated than just power shifting.
Yeah, more inaccessible than the original Feral Druid was. And look, I get it, like not every spec has to be like rock simple. Like I like difficult specs. I enjoy difficult specs, but difficult specs are for the dedicated. They're for the enthusiasts, and I just don't think. I don't think it's fair to say that everybody who plays Druid and wants the DPS has to be this fucking insane person juggling like 5 different timers. It's just not copacetic. And the other thing that kind of sucks about this bleed rotation is that it's not really suitable or effective on every fight because of, you know, you target swap.
Immunities.
You target, bleed immunities is the big one. But the other one is just target swapping, because you actually kind of care about your combo points and stuff. And having your actual bleeds up on the target, right? So it's not really effective for every... So even if you learn this crackhead rotation, you're still going to have to go back to the other power shifting rotation for a considerable number of fights.
And now here's the other thing. It's just, this ties into like doing cleave damage. Technically, one of the better ways of doing cleave damage now is to claw rip as many mobs as possible, so you can then spam shred on the non-ripped mobs.
Yeah, very intuitive.
To try and stack up as much energy return as possible. It's
the worst multi-dotting gameplay I've ever heard.
Actually, it's fucking AIDS. Yeah, it's fine. What do you want about? No, it's great. It's exactly what you want in life. And it's like people would have seen this or heard about like Clown Cat is a thing.
Yeah, it's a meme. There was a
Like,
lot of there was AI generated pictures of cats with clown makeup and clown stuff on them. It posted in the Druid channel a lot during class changes too.
But now it's like it's officially referred to as clown cat now.
Yeah, this is my clown cat build, guys.
Like actually, it's and the thing is, it's not even like so. Arguably, one of the best druids in the game is as a player, or in TWoW, is a player called Shape. He's very good.
Yeah,
very good at PvP, very good at the game. There's a few others as well. There's Angry Cat is also
Cat,
a very good.
He provides resources for this dog shit class. Thanks for doing that work, buddy.
And like, absolutely, really good player. He can crack like, you know, 1.1k.
Can we pull up the rankings? So the rankings working?
We can now. Yes,
okay, fantastic.
The rankings, the rankings do work now. But like for this spec, basically, and it's basically a case of like so Clown Cat is the shred spec, is the power shifting, and then the core spec is considered the non-Clown Cat spec, if people are wondering now, by the way.
Yeah.
That's how it's looked at. And the best in the game is 1400 DPS for Feral right now. And that's doing the new like perfect play, getting really lucky with everything, not fucking your rotation up at all type situation, and with full group support.
Yeah, like all the true shot aura, there's an enhancement shaman drop giving you bloodlust, like all kinds of crazy stuff, right? That happens at the very highest rankings.
And you could just be a rogue and play your like.
You could just play rogue.
You could be rogue and just be like, oh, so I maintain slice and dice, and then I sinister strike. Anything else? Nah, man, just do that. What about cooldowns? Oh, just push them in time with your other cooldowns, and you're good. That's like that's it.
Mm-hmm.
It's like that's fucking it. You just right click the mob and push sinister strike and eviscerate.
Yeah.
That is all you need to do. That is 2 abilities that you use to do more damage.
Yeah. And if you want, if you really want to juggle plates a bit more, you can maybe do the IEA spec, right? And like,
but yeah, and
that's what I mean. Like, if you want to be more skill expressive, you can go a different spec. It's like, but there's something approachable for like normal fucking people who aren't cooked, like me or you.
and this thing, like this is an example of how disheartened I was with Feral as a lifelong person who enjoys Feral or Tri-Spec for PvP. Because of the changes they did to Resto, because there's a Resto Druid on the dev team.
Yeah.
I play Resto spec on my Druid currently for a bit. I've been dabbling in that because that's fun and engaging, as opposed to Feral. And like I might pick Feral up again and be like, because again I primarily tank. It's what I end up doing in a lot of roles. But I might pick Feral up again and be like, cool, I'm not doing any tanking on this class. I'm just going to focus on doing DPS.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's
yeah, and I think
it works for a crack monkey. Anyone else will get more enjoyment out of feeling like they can contribute by playing another class. And technically I was wrong. It's 3 buttons for a rogue, because you push slice and dice, eviscerate, and sinister strike. My bad. Three buttons.
Whoa.
Yep.
Whoa.
Yep.
Maybe
one of those
expansion...
buttons you push every like 40 seconds. Okay, so
yeah.
Fuck.
But yeah, like the last thing I want to say is like the 1.12 client is cooked. Latency is a big deal for power shifting. Just give us 1 button power shifting. Like, what's going on, boys? Like, why can't we do cat shifting? We can go cat bear now. We can't do cat.
That's the thing. They even added that in of making it so that you have instantaneous form to form shifting, but you can't have one button
like
cat to cat shifting.
Yeah, I mean the server is already jank with like having to use NAM power and stuff so that you can actually cast things and like Q casts and stuff like that. Like 1.12 is already jank enough as it is. You could at least alleviate the jank of the power shift rotation by allowing one button power shifting, cat shifting. You know.
Yep. Yeah, it would be nice.
It would be a big deal.
And before anyone's like wondering, I'm not disparaging how good 1500 DPS is.
Yes.
Or like it's like 1400.
Well, look,
that is good damage. It genuinely is.
Yes.
But you've got to have
All
low
the
latency
planets
for
align.
it. Yeah, yep, and you've got to be playing like a fucking
Machine.
Yep.
Yeah.
You cannot fuck up. Whereas mages will be doing, up to 2k. Warlocks will be doing up to 1800.
Yeah.
There's warriors, which we don't really talk about,
DPS.
who will be doing, they'll be doing more than you. That's just what they do. And then
the warrior is really skill expressive. The way they hit bloodthirst every 6 seconds.
Yeah. And like, I get another example would be like hunters are probably an example where they're close to being a GCD locked spec as well. Survival hunters specifically. They'll do decent damage if the planets align, but again, it's a similar thing of you don't get any like.
Yeah,
I'm not going to say downtime.
Doing 1600 on patchwork here. Yeah.
Yeah. Like you don't get downtime really as a survival hunter, compared to all the other classes. Like every other class mentioned isn't GCD locked. As a cat, you are GCD locked.
Yeah. If
you're not pushing a button,
and we don't mean GCD lock as in pushing Frostbolt over and over again. We mean
we mean counting everything while pushing a button. And the other thing is, GCD for cats is 1 second, like it is for rogues. GCD is 1.5 for every other class. Bear that in mind.
Yeah, it's even faster.
So like you are, it's what the term I used before, playing like a crack monkey. But I guess. Now, this is going to sound like... I don't want people to feel like you shouldn't enjoy playing Feral. Because absolutely, it has some amazing things. It's just got some... With CC2, it's just got some really, like... dumb fucking choices made around the class that don't help with the specific pain points that a Feral has. And that's kind of like probably sums up the entirety of the problem. Yeah. Is you're shit out of luck if you want the problems that were on Vanilla WoW to be fixed now.
Yes.
I'd also like to point out that the top DPS Feral has an ATS, just in case anyone's wondering, just to clear that up. That's not a normal gear Feral. That's everything aligning, and they have an ATS. So please,
game BIS.
Yeah, please bear that in mind. That's absolute fucking BIS.
Yeah.
Worse than other classes still, while trying to do everything. So please don't think that you're going to be like.
To sum it up, Feral is inelegant complexity without reward. Inelegant complexity without reward. There's things don't make intuitive sense. You still have to do them. You have to figure them out first. Then you have to do them and perform them. And when you do and perform them, you get less performance than anything else. And there's no good, accessible, low to the ground, low skill alternatives that do, let's say, 85 to 90% of the damage of the crackhead rotation, right?
I mean, yeah, that's that. Like, you're either all in or you're not there.
Yeah,
it's kind of how
you got what it. You can either hang with the Feral boys or you're out, dude.
Yeah,
the cat boy crew is very very elitist organization.
Yeah, and now the thing is, this isn't ever to have a go at someone for enjoying it. If you enjoy Feral, continue enjoying Feral. This isn't meant to take away from your enjoyment of the class. This is very much a discussion from two people who fall on the extreme end of wanting to get the most they can out of a class, and then finding out that getting the most you can out of a druid is being hard fucked by game mechanical limitations, or you have to play like a crack monkey and you do less damage than a rogue. You're going, Sinister Strike? It's been 2 seconds. It's been another 2 seconds. Another Sinister Strike? I'm not kidding, by the way. You literally wait 4 seconds between button push on a rogue for your rotation.
Yeah, it's chill.
Like you can hammer it,
it's
but
fine.
you're not doing another Sinister Strike for 4 seconds.
Yeah.
So like you just push it once and you can be like la da da la da da, pushing again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So finish off with Cat. Like, yeah, I think we've touched on the miserable AOE and like the goofy things we're doing to maximize AOE. I don't know why they just insist.
Oh yeah, just push Hurricane. Shift out a Cat. Push
like
Hurricane.
The only melee class that has bad cleave.
Well, we have none. You have to go bear to get cleave, and you have to be tanking something and get aggro and be generating rage to swipe to get cleave. Otherwise, we are the only.
Swipe is like bad cleave. Like the warrior ability cleave is way better.
It's just better. Yep. But yes, otherwise the only melee class without cleave, because paladins can just fucking push consecration. That's cleave and AOE tied into one.
Yeah, shamans have fire totems. I bitch about like enhanced shamans have fire totems. I bitch about fire totems. I think they're like undertuned as fuck. I've made balance arguments about that in the past, but I won't get into that now. But yeah, at least they have like a tool. That tool needs to be addressed and like tuned a bit higher, but they have a tool and it makes sense. They're not doing goofy things like shifting out of form and casting Hurricane. Okay, and
it's a set and forget tool as well, just like paladins. It's like push the button. You push it once,
and then you continue to do single target stuff. Yeah.
Yes, yeah, you can keep doing other stuff.
Yeah.
Druids are, hey, you're a caster for 10 seconds now while you channel Hurricane.
Yeah.
Have fun.
Yeah, or you do that claw rip aids that you were talking about earlier.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. And the last thing is just the survivability.
Sorry, it's rake rip. Apologies, not claw. It's rake rip.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. And the last thing is just miserable survivability. Like, if you're a rogue, you kind of have a little bit of a bag of tricks you can reach into. Now, a lot of those tricks are hard CC. They don't work on raid mobs. I kind of dislike that. At least it works pretty well in like 5-mans and stuff, but it doesn't really work in like raids. But at least you have, when shit hits the fan, you kind of have buttons to push, right? And
yes, yeah, and you have a button for kind of every situation, including a get out of jail free card in quotation marks with Vanish.
Yeah, Vanish. You can kick spells as well, and that does matter as well. And you're just kind of missing that toolkit. And any stray like cleave or physical damage just obscenely fucks you up. The abominations in Naxxramas come to mind. You still have like the armor level of a rogue, but you don't have the ability to like raise your avoidance with evasion. You don't have the ability to vanish and drop a bonus or threat. You don't have plate. So yeah.
Yeah. And you have worse stamina than rogues.
Yeah. I feel like at least, survival instincts, a DR, that was like, but you don't get vanish. That's kind of like a decent trade-off, I feel like. I don't know. I feel like that's kind of, they're really kind of lacking in it. Cats are so lacking in utility. Like, it's because they're kind of locked into their forms, right? It's like,
yep.
I mean, all their brain power is consumed with this insane rotation, right? That they're going to fuck up, they're going to miss, like, they're going to stand in the fire because they're focusing on too much bullshit. And so they're going to fuck up the mechanics of the fight, probably, because of how hard the rotation is. And on top of that, if you're focusing all your cognitive attention on that, that's a resource. You're not going to do like the important decurse or the important dispel. You're not going to do the key battle res unless somebody screams at you to do it. You're not going to make those kinds of...
It's really troll.
you're not going to make those kinds of heads up like plays with your utility. Like I feel like rogues, they have a lot more cognitive RAM, if you will, to kind of make those plays, right?
And it's the thing is though, as a rogue, you're used to that utility. You have that as like how often do how often do you need to like get rid of someone's poisons, or decurse someone while you're like leveling or doing dungeon work as a druid. But as a rogue, yeah, I'm gonna gouge that mob. Yeah, I'm gonna kick that one. Yeah, I'm gonna blind that one. Oh shit, I'm tanking 3. I'm gonna use evasion. Like all these sort of things are baked into how you play your class 100% of the time. And they're always available, unless you're on cooldown, but they're always available. Whereas a druid, and I guess this is why in PvP they're fucking incredible, but as a druid in a raid setting, you're a cat. Oh wait, hang on, fuck. That mob's loose. Cool. I'll shift to bear and I'll feral charge it and I'll pick it up. And that's like the distinction of like flexing really well. Except now with the change to gear, you're wearing shitty cat DPS gear. You've got no fucking stamina and reduced armor compared to previously.
Yeah.
So the chances of that going well are lowered. Or I guess it's like they looked at druids and like they have all this utility, and the TWoW devs specifically, and are still stuck in the mentality of they have to pay a hybrid tax for the utility they provide, ignoring the fact that warriors have literally the best utility in the fucking game.
Yeah.
And consistently output the highest cleave and single target DPS.
Yeah, Demo Shout, fucking Sunder, fucking Thunderclap,
Disarm.
all that stuff. Disarm,
yep, Thunderclap, yep. They have a fear as well. Like, there's a whole bunch of stuff that warriors just get given, and people just kind of forget about it. Oh, wait, what's that? They have a group-wide AP buff.
Yeah.
Just like all these little things.
Specifically when you're tanking, if a mob is actively hitting you, you can't get out of bear. You are stuck. Straight up. There's nothing you can do, right?
What do you want about? I'm going to ask our bear tank to cast Tranquility while the boss is hitting him.
Yeah.
That'd be really good. Thanks, man. Just do that.
Could you quickly lose 10,000 armor to decurse someone? Thank you.
Nothing could go wrong with that whatsoever.
It's just a complete non-starter, and the lack of utility, combined with the inaccessibility, combined with the survivability of the spec. I mean, even before you factor in like the cooldowns and buttons that something like rogues could press, I mean, you saw the tier gear, they goat fucked the stamina values. So the rogues, let's just say there's like some magical nukes hitting the whole raid. Chances are the rogues are going to survive that more likely than the feral druid. It's just a HP disparity.
Mm-hmm.
Especially when they're using like trash fucking dog shit gear from several raid tiers ago because the itemization is cooked.
Yes, again, that's the problem. Or they're using that offset stuff because the itemization is cooked, which just has less stamina.
Yeah. No, it's So Cat is fucked on multiple levels. I think we're pretty much done. The only thing I'd like to cover now is like dev communication, like the things that were said on the Discord around class changes to the interactions you had with the staff. I'd just like you to talk about that because I think it's not. They just don't get it, and they're kind of stuck. Like even when you've gone to great lengths to explain how something is kind of wrong, they just So take it
I'm pretty pedantic when it comes to finding and sharing information. I dislike being wrong or being incorrect in terms of if I'm going to say something, I want to make sure what I'm saying is correct, basically. And it got to the point where I completely disengaged with working with and talking with anyone to do with pretty much anything when I got accused of being sensationalist when using maths to do with it, specifically around like the feral aggression, feral adrenaline.
Yeah. The fact that people getting crit under it.
Yep. I was like, this is categorically the worst possible numbers you could have chosen. And I was like, did the person who chose this not understand the combat table? Because like, and I was like, this is like such an insane choice of numbers that I'm like, how could this have gone through?
Yeah.
Like it's just the worst numbers you could have chosen, and anyone with an understanding of the combat tables, which as someone doing a melee change, you would expect them to have that. If they looked at it, they'd be like, oh, that's bad. We should change that. And so the devs were like, no, you're being sensationalist. Likewise, when it came to like the clown cat stuff and all that jazz. And now I'd like to point out that cat is a lot better now than at the start of class changes too.
Yes, there were several iterations made.
Like a lot better. We're on like the third or fourth change of a bunch of talents.
Yeah.
Because of
We're
how
on version 4, version 5 right now.
Yeah. Like they've received more changes than any other class, or I should say any other spec, specifically because of how bad their initial release talent changes were. And how the devs have treated everyone being like, yo, this is fucked, it's just horrible, is really combative. It's not bad now, per se, because they're finally bending and realizing that, oh, we're shit at this, we should actually listen. But it's like trying to get blood from stone. It's like bashing your head into the wall until the wall finally realizes, oh, what they were saying was right, we should probably change this, maybe. Yeah, but maybe that doesn't extend to itemization, is the worst part.
Yes, itemization, they seem to be stubborn and all in on this splitting cat and bear gear and fucking around.
It's taken months to get stamina added to tier items for cat.
Yeah.
Like that in and of itself, I think it only happened like 2 weeks ago, because the devs really have an opinion of, I'm right, you're wrong.
Yeah.
For lack of a better way of putting it, they're a very, and I get people can be abusive and confrontational in that regards, and around CC2, the druid channel was pretty bad. Everyone else was mostly hopeful, apart from the warlocks. And the shamans.
The improved Shadow Bolt.
Yeah, improved Shadow Bolt. And the shamans having to be like, you guys have fucked up. What have you done wrong with Wind Fury? And then being like, we haven't fucked up. And then us being like, no, you have.
They said it has an ICD. It's like, no, it never had an ICD.
Like, it's meant to have a 3-second ICD, so we've made it 6 seconds, and we're like, you have woefully fucked this up. You know,
never
like,
had a 3-second ICD. What are you talking about?
So like all that sort of stuff. You know, there are a few other classes like that. Most other classes though were pretty cool. And then Druid was a dumpster fire that no dev wanted to go in. Yeah. With the exception of Resto, everyone was like, whoever did Resto is amazing. This is fucking awesome. You know, needs like a little bit of tweaking.
What also didn't help was the first draft of Tank Paladin was crazy. So people were drawing comparisons to like Paladin Tank, and it was aggressive. It was aggressively slanted in favor of them. They've received several nerfs, and they're still pretty good.
They would end up with more stamina than druids.
Yeah, more health than druids.
more health than druids. Like that in and of itself. So more health. 10% DR, and then the 3-minute 50% cooldown reduction that Bulwark was originally.
Yeah,
Bulwark.
Yeah. Absolutely crazy.
Yeah. Comparing it to that, and you're like, cool, so we know that there are like 4 or 5 devs on TWoW who are all Paladin. Mm-hmm. Awesome. Fuck you guys.
Yeah. I want you to talk about the first draft of Clown Cat, because it's probably like, because like, it you don't want to flame them, but at the same time, it's like, do you guys actually play this spec? Like, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah. So like we had Feral Adrenaline, which was useless. We had no changes to improved Shred, right? Yeah. So improved Shred, it reduces the cost of Shred.
Yeah.
And then they added they added Open Wounds, which was increase the damage of Claw and Ferocious Bite. It used to be increase the damage of Claw and Shred for each active bleed on the target. We were like, oh, that's a little bit interesting. Does this mean that we can, oh wait, sorry, that's a bug, actually shred damage isn't going to get improved by having rip on the target? We're like, are you fucking kidding us? You what now? So they deleted it and it became just Claw.
Okay.
With damage increased. And then they like, oh, we'll change shred to be increases the damage of Shred for like 4 seconds after power shifting. Which meant sometimes you didn't even get to use the bonus damage.
Yeah, because you'd actually hang around in Cat for a little bit longer than 4 seconds.
Because of how it like lined up. Yep. Yeah, so it's like, are you fucking kidding? So that they changed that to 10 seconds. So that works now. And Ancient Brutality didn't give energy restore. It used to be Rage when you dodged, and it used to be Vampirism.
Yeah, Vampirism.
And like a cracked value, it used to be like 15% Vampirism as well. And we're like, what the fuck? Like, cool, now you're a god in everywhere except a raid, and in a raid it doesn't matter. So like,
in a raid it's useless. Yeah.
That thanks. And the rage return was like atrocious. I wonder if I can find, because now it's 4 rage per second for 5 seconds.
Yep.
And it used to be like 1/2 rage a second over 10 seconds or something. It was horrible. And again, had no energy restore. Like now,
hold on. Isn't what's that arms talent? The one that what's it called? Anger management or something?
Anger management.
The old one they got rid of. Yeah, isn't that? Isn't that better than giving you 1 rage a second? I don't know.
Yep, it is on dodge as well. But like, hey, dodging and it was an impressive.
It was a complete goat fuck. It was an embarrassment.
It really was. But so it's at the point where like now Clown Cat is power shredding. Like you're being a clown if you're trying to power shift, and instead you do this bleed tick spec, which is more complicated.
Yeah. The P shift, the traditional P shift rotation is now like the worst DPS.
That's the easy rotation in Cat.
That's the easy rotation, and it's worst DPS. Yes.
Yep.
But we can't get cat or 1-button power shifting like on the fucking ancient 1.12 client with up to 300 ms latency for some players. Like it's just goofy. I don't know. Just live next to the server if you want to play Feral, dude. I don't know. Like, I think
of course.
Yeah, that's totally reasonable. All right. I think we're finally done.
I think that covers everything. Yeah.
So as I said, like early leveling, early rating, fine. You have fun. If you're a leveling enjoyer, if you just play hardcore, or you just like leveling characters, you love the vanilla leveling experience, Feral is completely fine, better even, and it's great. But like, there's so many problems baked into the spec at endgame that I just can't, in good conscience, recommend. Like, if somebody was like, hey, oh, you're new to the game, oh, you should play this game, and it's like, oh, what class you want to be in? And they're like, Druid. I'm like,
you want to be Resto, right? Oh.
I shouldn't have to do that. This is a Vanilla Plus server. I should be able to be like, just play whatever you want. Because for the most part, that is the case. For the most part, it's just like, play whatever you want. All 3 mage specs, cool. All 3 shaman specs, sure, why not? All 3 priest specs, cool. Shadow's a bit, but like, I feel like
it still does work, but yeah.
I feel like just like anytime somebody wants to play Feral, it's just like, this spec is fucked in so many ways. I'd have to explain it to you over like the course of 2 hours, and you'd have to have a deep understanding of the game to even understand the issues we're talking about here, right? You kind of have to have a background in all these mechanical things, like how armor works, how glancing blows work, how
crit cap works, and
the
combat table.
So it's not immediately obvious that this spec is cooked. You just have to play it for a very long time, and you realize, oh, this spec is actually bananas in so many ways that aren't immediately obvious, right?
Yep. Or play like a crack addict and have multiple timers up all at once.
Yeah.
and do worse damage than a rogue who's sipping on a pina colada. Well, while doing his rotation.
That's pretty much the state of the spec. It's very simple to play bear though, and just establish a huge threat ceiling. You just have to hope that your healers are switched on and paying attention 100% of the time, or you're just gonna fall over.
I mean, I guess that's the thing. Like playing bear, it's like cool. I push one button every 6 seconds, and other than that, I just queue more on every auto attack, and then I hope the healers keep me alive. That's bear. And while doing that, you get a massive threat lead, which does make it very simple from terms of like I do this, and the boss won't rip.
Yeah.
Oh, I died. Oh, okay, I guess that was the healer's fault.
Yes. healer issue. Unbelievable healer issue. I mean, look, vanilla tanking, the impetus for keeping you alive has always been heavily on the healer, but you know, you had things you could do, you had buttons you could push. That's not really... You had gearing choices you could make to improve things. It's not really a choice. So, yeah, I'm going to leave it there. Thank you for contributing to this discussion. You know, I knew quite a lot about Feral, especially vanilla Feral, but, you know, the newer stuff, the stuff that you really dived into on, like, the itemization and, like, the talents and the multiple balance changes that came... You know, there's a lot of stuff where I had to defer to your expertise because I haven't been playing, like, Feral hardcore on this server. But, yeah, I just think this is probably I think this is the worst spec in the game, fundamentally. Like, straight up worst spec in the game.
I would agree, especially from the component of what I liked about Feral was the ease of transition between bear and cat and the gear.
Yeah, the flexibility, that flex tank role. It's really nice to have a flex tank, right? Because, you know, there's so many different fights that have so many different number of tanks needed. Or you could even stop tanking in the same encounter and start doing damage, right?
Absolutely. That however, has fundamentally been lost.
Yes.
Now, more so with the segregation of the gear. And, I mean, to the point where, I guess this would be my closing comments, is I thoroughly enjoyed Feral. I really do. I still think it's, like, Druid is one of my favourite classes in the game, and just the flexibility of Feral everywhere else that it provides, like open world and stuff. But the fact that basically the best way to play Feral now is stick on a whole bunch of DPS gear and have your healers just never stop healing you.
Yeah, ride your dick.
Yeah, basically. And like that's what you do. And that's what progression guilds do, and that's what anyone basically using a Feral tank does, and they stick the Feral tank in pos 1 and just full send heals into this Feral. And like it works, it really does, but you're basically just a DPS geared player who has a little bit more armor. Like you end up with like 9,000 armor or some shit, like ridiculously low armor. And you just get punched in the face and you get healed just enough to not die.
Yeah.
Which isn't really engaging to me.
No.
So.
Nope.
But yeah, no, that'll be my final comments on that. But other than that, if you play Feral, enjoy it. If you're enjoying the game, don't let our thoughts ruin your enjoyment of the spec.
Yeah.
If you're enjoying it, continue to enjoy it and play it.
Yeah, my closing comments is, the fundamental, like, the versatility of the spec has been lost. None of the fundamental vanilla long-standing issues have really been addressed. I mean, we got a few addressed, like, we can actually equip weapons now. That's cool. But, yeah, fundamentally, sorry, I lost my train of thought. I was going to say... It's not very Vanilla Plus. It's not very Vanilla Plus. It's just not in the spirit of Vanilla Plus that the spec is so fundamentally like cooked like this. And I think that, you know, oh yeah, that's right. What I was gonna say is it's not an easy job to fix the things that are fundamentally fucked with Vanilla Feral. It's not an easy task, but you really needed to have like a one trick and an expert to really kind of point this out. And I feel like whatever happened on CC2, they didn't have that sort of player. They didn't have a guy who was actually super dedicated and deep in the books on the spec, and didn't have a cohesive vision for how the spec was going to fit into the game and work, right? And it's not an easy task. It's not an enviable task to take flack for class balance changes. Even when you're doing things right, people are going to flame you, right? For other classes as well. It's not easy, but you know, I'm hoping that if they want to take another crack at it in Class Changes 3, or they want to significantly revamp itemization, we've given them kind of like something to go off of and something to build on, and make things work and make sense and be intuitive again. So yeah,
Hopefully.
You know, hope in one hand, shit in the other, see what fills up faster. But anyway, that pretty much covers it. And that concludes the Feral Group Therapy session. Thank you all for listening.